The fall stated meeting of the Presbytery of West Virginia will be held on Saturday, November 15th at Old Stone Presbyterian Church in Lewisburg and on Zoom. I'm Susan Sharp Campbell, Associate for Educational Ministry for the Presbytery, and in this video I provide an overview orientation to the work we will be about on the 15th. If you're planning to attend in person, plan to arrive at the church between 9 and 10 to get parked, check in at the registration table, pay for your lunch, turn in your mission project supplies, and enjoy a time of fellowship and refreshments. If you're joining by Zoom, you'll be able to join beginning at 9:30 a.m. When you do join by Zoom, please be sure that it is your name on the screen so that those taking attendance can easily identify you. If you wish to speak on Zoom, you'll need to know how to click on the React button and then on Raise Hand to be recognized. There's several things I'd encourage you to do before the 15th as you prepare to attend the meeting. For each presbytery meeting, we ask the host church to share a mission project with which we might help. For this meeting, they have requested newborn 1 or 2 size diapers or baby wipes to stock Bop and Nana's baby closet, which helps new mothers in need. You'll also need to download the advanced packet to your tablet or phone so that you can access it during the meeting. The advanced packet includes the docket, agenda, written reports, worship bulletin, and flyers, and was emailed on November 5th. It can also be found at wvpresbytery.org. Please note that the advanced packet is quite lengthy, and I encourage you not to print it all. All recommendations and the worship liturgy will be projected during the meeting. If you would like to have a printed copy for the in-person meeting, please email office@wvpresbytery.org no later than midnight, Monday, November 10th, and one will be waiting for you when you check in. If you're worshiping on Zoom, you may want to print the docket and worship materials so they are easily accessible to you. The advanced packet has 3 parts. The first is the docket, followed by written reports and recommendations and information. Second is the worship bulletin, and finally a flyer about mission and hunger grants. While I will lift up the recommendations we will be voting on and pointing to some of the information in the reports, this video is not meant to take the place of you reading the packet in its entirety. I encourage you to go ahead and download the packet so you can follow along with the video, and then go back and read it all prior to the 15th. As you watch and as you read, though, I encourage you not to decide how you will vote. For as we gather and make decisions, we do so trusting that the Spirit of God moves in our midst, opening our hearts and minds to discern where God is leading us and calling us to follow as we hear voices that speak on the different issues. So please come prepared, but also with an open mind and heart so that we can hear what God might be saying to us. At 10 a.m., Dodd Adamy, the moderator of the Presbytery, will call the meeting to order and lead us in an opening prayer. Julie Olt, pastor of Old Stone, will then bring greetings from the church. Next up will be some initial items of business. These include the seating of corresponding members, which means giving minister members of other presbyteries who are present at this meeting the ability to speak, which we call voice. The recognition of ruling elders for whom this is their first presbytery meeting as a commissioner. The announcement of the presence of a quorum. The quorum for this meeting is 15% of our churches, represented by a ruling elder, or 17, and 15% of our minister members, or 16. Once quorum is established, the docket for the day, which is found on pages 1 and 2, will be approved, followed by the consent agenda. The consent agenda can be found on page 3. These are items it's thought are not likely to generate discussion, but any item can be removed from the consent agenda if requested, and it will be discussed and voted on later in the meeting. Items on the consent agenda for this meeting are the recommendation to approve requests for excused absences, a recommendation to approve 2 ruling elders to preside at communion in their congregations of membership, as they have now completed the preparation course for this, and a recommendation that the offering received during worship be given to the Westminster Foundation and Davis and Elkins College to support campus ministry. The moderator will then appoint temporary clerks. They will count any votes other than voice votes and pass out anything that needs to be distributed during the meeting. The Committee on Bills and Overtures will consist of those members of the leadership team who are present in person. They will take up any new business and make a recommendation on it at the end of the meeting. Please note that any new business to be introduced must be given to the stated clerk in writing prior to the lunch break. For the education focus for this meeting, we will be engaging in appreciative inquiry, a strength-based approach to change through the lenses of Thanksgiving and Reformation. Part of the time will be spent in small groups around 5 topics. The topics are reaching and engaging younger generations, vital worship and music renewal, community presence and renewal, leadership and call, and unity and diversity in a changing church. You will be able to choose a small group based on the topic that most interests you. A time of announcements will follow, and then we will move to worship. The worship bulletin can be found on pages 90 to 95. We will be celebrating communion as part of worship, and all bread will be gluten-free. I encourage anyone who will be on Zoom to have some sort of beverage and bread present with you so that you too can join as we partake. On page 96, you'll find information about contributing to the offering by check or credit card if you aren't present in the meeting. If you choose to do so, please put November Presbytery meeting on the memo line. On page 96, you'll also find the list of worship leaders. It will then be time for lunch. But remember, if you have an item of new business, be sure the stated clerk has it in writing at this time. After lunch, the moderator will begin the afternoon with a time of prayer, and we will resume the business of the day. The first item after lunch will be the report of Maureen Wright as stated clerk. You will find her written report on pages 4 to 6. There you will find correspondence she has received and referred, and the recommendation regarding excused absences, which would have been taken up on the consent agenda earlier. The information section provides a list of all sessions that have submitted their session records for review from 2024, and the rolls and registers of the Presbytery, which the stated clerk is required to maintain and report. On page 7 of the advance packet, you'll find the procedural matters that guide us as we meet together. Section A lifts up principles of parliamentary law, which include courtesy to all, one item at a time, majority rule, respect the rights of the minority, justice for all, and partiality for none. These are all ways to show respect for one another as we seek to discern where God is leading us and we make decisions. In general, these concern how we work and play well with others as we gather in community. As items are discussed, pro and con speakers will alternate, with individuals being asked to identify their position. When one person has spoken on a pending question, all others wanting to speak will be heard before that person can speak again. It takes special approval for anyone to speak on the same question more than twice. Section B contains provisions from the Presbytery's manual that guide us, including who has voice at this meeting, which means the privilege to speak, and who has voice and vote. Section C sets forth the procedural rules we will follow. If you wish to speak, when called upon the moderator, please share your name, your church, or your relationship to the Presbytery, always addressing the moderator as a sign of your respect for the office. Here you will find that the limitation for debating any motion is 30 minutes per main motion, with each speaker limited to 3 minutes per speech, though this must be approved by 2/3 of those voting on the 15th. So as you read the packet, if you see an item that you feel called to speak to, you may want to go ahead and jot out your thoughts or your remarks so you can stay focused and use your time wisely. Finally, on page 8, you'll find information on motion basics as we follow Robert's Rules of Order's parliamentary procedure. Maureen will then report as the transitional general presbyter. We will then move to the reports of the leadership team and presbytery committees. We will be voting on the recommendations in these reports unless they've already been approved, and because they come from a team or a committee, they will not need a second. The leadership team report can be found on pages 9 and 10. The first two recommendations are that James Chris Alfred be elected treasurer and business administrator beginning January 1st, 2026, and provide the compensation package on page 16. You will find his resume on pages 11 to 15. They are also recommending approval of the Manual of Operations found on pages 17 to 61. This has been revised to reflect changes in light of the strategic plan that was adopted a year ago. Changes to the manual require 2 readings, and this will be the second reading as it was shared at the summer meeting, so we will be voting on these recommendations at this meeting. The leadership team is also recommending that 3 members of the Commission on Operations be elected to serve as trustees for the Presbytery for 2026. Their final 2 recommendations concern presbytery meetings in the future. One is for meeting places for presbytery meetings in 2026. The other is for meeting dates in 2027. In the information section, you'll find updates on their ongoing work, including the formation of the Bluestone Transitional Board. The Committee on Ministry, whose report can be found on pages 62 to 63, is recommending that minimum terms of call for ministers of word and sacrament and certified Christian educators be increased by 1% in 2026. In the information section, you will see that they are encouraging all churches to consider a 1% increase. Their second recommendation is to provide financial assistance to assist with increased cost in medical insurance coverage for pastor spouses and/or children. The ongoing work of the committee can be found in the information section. I would particularly lift up the retirement of David Lee, the memorial gifts given, and the follow-up with those who are not in compliance with boundary training requirements. The Presbytery of West Virginia is part of the Synod of the Trinity, which consists of 14 presbyteries in Pennsylvania, West Virginia Presbytery, and Upper Ohio Valley Presbytery. At this point in the meeting, Synod Commissioner Elizabeth Campbell Maleke will report on the annual meeting of the Synod of the Trinity that took place last month. Good news from the pews. Is a time for ruling elder commissioners to this meeting to share one way in which their congregation is engaged in ministry and mission. The hope is that others might glean ideas that they could take back to encourage their sessions and congregations to also engage in. Following the good news from the pews, we will be recognizing Susan Smith, Christian Education Director at First Presbyterian Church Charleston, as a Christian Education Associate. To be endorsed by a Christian Education Associate by the Educator Certification Committee of the PCUSA, one must complete work designed to develop basic knowledge and skills in the areas of biblical interpretation, Reformed theology, religious education theory and practice, human growth and faith development, worship and sacraments, and Presbyterian polity, program, and mission. You will find the recognition service on pages 64 and 65. The Transitional Nominating Committee has been completing its work of identifying persons to serve on the new committees and commissions of the Presbytery beginning in January 2026. You'll find their report with their nominations on page 66. As with any nominations, there will be an opportunity to nominate persons from the floor, though before doing so, the ones to be nominated must have agreed to serve if elected. The Committee on Representation will then be bringing nominations for the leadership team and Permanent Judicial Commission of the Presbytery, and nominations of people to serve at the Synod level and as General Assembly commissioners. You'll find the report of all they will be nominating on page 67. Again, there'll be an opportunity for nominations from the floor, but persons to be nominated must have agreed to serve in advance of being elected. The Vocations Committee report can be found on page 68. Their first recommendation was part of the consent agenda. Their second recommendation is to approve the persons listed there as authorized lay preachers in the presbytery, as they has now completed level 2, the second year of the Authorized Lay Preacher Commission Pastor Preparation Program. Authorized lay preachers serve as random pulpit supply. This would also include authorizing those who are ruling elders to preside at communion when they preach. You'll note also in the information that the committee continues its ongoing work with inquirers and candidates, the ALPCP preparation program, and loan repayments. The primary purpose of the Board of Trustees is to manage the property of the Presbytery in order to further the mission and ministry God has entrusted into our hands. They are bringing a recommendation regarding the Presbyterian Cemetery in Pennsboro. You'll find the background on this property in the information section. On page 70, you'll find the report of the Stewardship Committee. You'll note that they have met with representatives of the New Covenant funds, and the financial review by Suttle and Stallnaker is now complete. On pages 71 to 78, you'll find information on the financial standing of the Presbytery. And pages 79 to 82 present information on shared ministry and per capita giving by congregations. Page 83 presents the financial standing of Bluestone Conference Center. The Nurture Committee report can be found on page 84. There you'll find information about a number of events that they have sponsored in the last several months. In light of the Association of Partners in Christian Education's annual event being held close by in Pittsburgh in January 2026, and wanting to encourage persons in educational ministry to attend, they've awarded several scholarships, and recipients will be announced at this meeting. They have also chosen to be a sponsor for this event. Several committees have only written reports for this meeting. The Bluestone Committee report on page 85 shares information on events that happened there in October, on maintenance expenses in 2025 that were unplanned. At the bottom of their report, you'll find important information about summer camp for 2026. Please share the dates there with children and their families, children, youth, and their families in your congregations, and with others who might be interested so they can add them to their calendars. The report of the Mission Committee is on page 86. Their recommendation during the offering most likely will have passed on the consent agenda. You'll also find in their report that they continue to receive and review grant applications for hunger grants and mission grants. Please note that any grants requested for the holiday season must be in by December 1st. You'll find a flyer regarding these grants on page 97 of the advance packet, that is, on the very last page. In their report on page 87, the Relations Committee notes that they have reached out to most of the congregations in the Presbytery this past year, the exceptions being those congregations with whom the Committee on Ministry is already working, as their work comes to an end. At the conclusion of the committee reports, we will be installing leadership for the Presbytery, including John Bolt, who is moderator for 26 and 27. We will also be installing new committee and commission chairs and presbytery leaders. Following the installations, if any new business was submitted, it will be addressed. If there is no new business, the meeting will be adjourned with a charge and benediction by the moderator, and we will be on our way. Please be aware, though, that though the meeting is over, your work as a commissioner to this meeting continues as you take back to your session and congregation what has happened, important dates, upcoming events. Also on page 88, you'll find an evaluation form for this meeting. It will also be emailed to you after the meeting. You can print the one in your packet. You can wait till you get one in your email. But however you choose to respond, please do respond with your evaluation. The leadership team takes these very seriously in planning future meetings. I look forward to seeing you for a short time on the 15th, as I'll be spending most of the weekend at Bluestone with the fall retreat. Thank you for watching.